So on Friday, we started a little bit into lesson 11.3, and we did our top two examples. And the reason we did just the top two examples was because that they were just dividing by a single term. Okay? So when we're just dividing by a single term, we practiced on Friday that we could just take each of those terms and put it underneath. So like 2a squared divided into each of those three terms. 5b cubed divided into each of those three terms, and then we just did our simplifying. What we saved for today, so we didn't have to struggle with on Friday, is the long division. So we're going to practice a little bit of long division. I'm going to go to the next page so I have a little bit more room. Okay, now, why are these long division and the others weren't? Because now we're dividing by two terms instead of just one term.
Wow, I like this ratio. Hey, you have Peggy's stuff that I can pick up?
It's right there. Okay, so you're welcome. As we set this up, the reason we're talking long division is because we're dividing by two terms. So as you go to do homework, if you see it's divided by two terms being added or subtracted, we're going to set up long division. So we're going to set up good old traditional long division. What goes in the box?
2m squared minus 3.
Okay. The first item, whatever you're trying to divide. So 2m squared minus m minus 3 goes in our box. And then what we're dividing by goes outside the box. So m plus 1 goes outside the box. Now, I forgot. I said I was going to do some basic. Do we even remember how to do basic long division?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Kind of, maybe. I don't know. Don't you go to like the first one and then the second one?
So let's just try. Let me make up a random long division problem here and see how it works. Okay, have no idea how this is going to work out, but 19,386 divided by 15 without the use of your calculator. Okay, so do you remember 15 has two digits, right? So we're trying to divide into two digits. How many times does 15 go into 19? Once. Where do I put that 1? Since we're going into the first two digits into two digits, we're going to put above the 9. Then once you have this 1 up here, we're going to take that 1 and we multiply it by whatever you have out here. So what's 1 times 15? 15. After we multiply, we subtract. 19 minus 15 is 4. And then
Bring down the 3.
carry down your next digit, which in that case is a 3. And we're going to repeat the process.
How many times can 15 go to 43?
15 into 43.
I'm trying to think what 15 times 2.
And that's the deal. We're going to have to know 15 times 2, 15 times 3.
It's, 45 would be 3, so like.
I think 2 times.
Point something.
And I only want a whole number here, so we're going to say 2.
Oh, okay.
I don't want a decimal right now. So we're just going to go 2. 15 goes into 43 twice. Notice I put that above the next open spot, so I put above the 3. Now we take the 2 and we multiply. 2 times 15
30.
is 30. Now we're going to
Subtract 40 minus 30.
subtract. 43 minus 30?
13.
13.
And then bring down to 8. See, I kind of remember it. That's just.
Coming back to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's my whole point of doing this, is I'm just trying to get it to come back to you. Now it's 15 into 138.
125. One. Oh God.
Yeah, see, I'm not good with the high numbers, so I'm not. I'm moving those.
25. 120.
120, yeah.
Okay, so then that's okay. 10. Right?
Should be 9.
9. Okay.
Because I think 9 is going to be 135. And here, what do we do when we're not sure?
Multiply on this.
Yep. 9 times 5,
45.
45. Carry the 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4, 135. So your 135 was right. It's just how many times did it take you to get there, right? So that goes above the 8 we dropped. 9 times 15, 135. 138 minus 135 is 3. Bring down the 6. 15 into 36. 2. Because 2 15s is 30.
6.
36 minus 30 is 6.
15 can go into 6.
So now, and we're going to, if you remember remainders, we're not going to go on and keep going with the decimal, because that's not what we're going to be able to do over there. We're going to do a remainder. So this is going to be a remainder of 6, but if we make our remainder a fraction, it's 6 over 15, the divisor of 15.
So it's 1,292 remainder 6 over 15.
Yeah, 1,000, or just 1,292 and 6/15. Okay, because it's this 6 over the divisor of 15. Okay, so that sounds a little familiar, right?
Yeah.
Coming back to us gradually in bits and pieces. Okay, so let's go back over here to our example of the day. We're trying to take 2m squared minus m minus 3 and dividing by m plus 1. It's similar, but yet it's different. Does that make sense? It's similar, but yet it's different. So first thing, because here's the deal. I can't really say, okay, m plus 1 is 2 terms, right? So we're going to be going into 2 terms. But I can't really say how many times does m plus 1 go into 2m squared minus m. I've tried it. It's been a disaster. Okay? So what we really instead have to ask is just look at the first term here. And so if I only look at the first term, which is an m and a 2m squared. If we ask ourselves, okay, how many times does m go into 2m squared? Or, what I like to try and get you guys to think is m times what is 2m squared? That's what I need you to start thinking. M times what is 2m squared? 2m? And if you're not sure, then what you need to do is 2m squared divided by m. If you hit one, you're like, I don't know, I just don't know. Then you're dividing them. So, I agree. M times 2m is 2m squared. Because 1 times 2 is 2, m times m is m squared. Now, where do I put that 2m?
Above the 2.
It's going to go above my answer. Now, officially, even though we just worked with one term, how many terms am I dividing by?
1.
Well, no.
2.
There's 2 terms. So we're going to count in 1, 2 terms, and then put it above that second term. So I'm putting my 2m above my minus m. It also goes above its corresponding like term. So it's not just coincidence that 2m ended up over m. Now, after we put that up there, we now take that and we need to multiply. So now, I'm going to take my 2m that's up top, and we're going to multiply by the m plus 1. Now, what I like to do is I just like to say, okay, what is 2m times m? 2m squared. And I like to just put that under the first term. Then 2m times 1 is 2m. So that's a plus 2m. If it's just me doing it, that's what I write up there. Now, if you need the visual, basically we just did a distributive property. 2m times m is 2m squared. 2m times 1 is 2m. And notice that's what we have right there. After you multiply, what do we do? Subtract. If you've set this up correctly, that first subtraction should always cancel. What is 2m squared minus 2m squared?
0.
0, right? 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, now be careful. Negative 1m minus 2m. So remember here, you're doing negative 1 minus 2. What is negative 1 minus 2?
Negative 3.
Negative 1 minus 2. Change opposite if you need. And that is a negative 3. M, I should say. Right? There's negative 1m minus 2m. Now what do I do?
Second.
Bring down your
Yeah, okay.
minus 3.
Yeah.
And restart the process. So now I'm asking myself, it's still m, but how many times does m go into negative 3m? Or in other words, m times what is negative 3m?
Negative 3.
Yeah, m times what is negative 3m? And that is going to be negative 3. What do I do with that negative 3? Put it up top here. After we get that negative 3, we're going to take it and we're going to multiply. So we're going to take this negative 3 and multiply by m plus 1. So negative 3 times m. Negative 3m. Negative 3 times 1. Negative 3. And again, if you don't like that, feel able to treat it as distributive. Negative 3 times m. Negative 3 times 1. What happens when we subtract this time? Yeah. Negative 3m minus negative 3m is negative 3 plus 3, which is 0. And negative 3 minus negative 3 is also 0. And do we have anything else left to bring down? No. So it just so happens that we finished without a remainder. It happens on occasion, and it did here. So our answer is 2m minus 3. You are far from the only one. Okay, as I set that up, I'm trying to remember if this happens in homework or not. I don't remember off the top of my head. But as I set that up, I did not mention that, okay, we always want our terms to be in order, right? So like it already had 2m squared, it had the m squared, then the m term, and then the number term. We always want it set up that way. However, as you set yours up, you want to make sure that every place value is represented. So if any of the place values aren't there, so if you're missing an exponent, we're going to put a 0 in that place. And I'm giving you that hint because
The next problem.
it's going to happen on the next problem. Now, I'm going to erase our original division. Okay. Ready to set this one up?
H plus 3.
Okay, in the box is going to be
H3 minus 4H plus 12.
okay. H cubed is h to the power of 3. What should follow an h to the power of 3?
-4.
I don't know.
But what place value should be there? If it's h to the third, if all place values are represented, what comes after h to the third?
H squared.
H to the second. Do I have an h to the second? We do not. And so this is where you need to put in plus 0 h to the second. So you always want to make sure all place values are represented. And I can look here and give you a warning if it happens in homework or not. I can't remember if it does or not. So we've got h to the third, h to the second. What should come after an h to the second term?
4H.
Because it's h to the first, right? Because this is h to the first, we can now put our minus 4h. What comes after minus 4h?
Plus 12.
0, so plus 12.
Plus 12, because it'd be the h to the 0. Same thing needs to be true outside, which in this case is just
H plus 3.
h plus 3.
There we go.
Okay? So, first thing I'm going to ask, how many times does
H plus 3 going to H3.
h plus 3, or even just h, go into h to the third?
3 times.
So h times what is h to the third?
H to the second.
H to the second. Or again, if you don't like it, divide those pieces there, right? Where do I put h to the second in my answer?
Above the 0, H to the second.
Okay, it's going to go two spots over or above its like term. So we've got h to the second. What do I do with that h to the second?
Multiply.
We're going to multiply. So I'm going to take whoops, gosh, h to the second times h and h plus 3, or excuse me, h plus 3. So h to the second times h is
H to the third.
h to the third. H to the second times 3
H, 3H to the second.
plus 3h to the second. I might have to move this. I put this stuff too high down here, and I'm going to run out of room way too quick. Just saying. H times what was h to the third? And even then, I might, you know what? We're just going to move it down quite a bit. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, h to the second times h was h cubed. H to the second times 3, 3h squared. Now we're going to
Subtract.
subtract. H cubed minus h cubed.
0.
0, right? As they should be. What's 0h squared minus 3h squared?
-3H. No, -3.
I think I liked your first answer better. 0 of something minus 3 of something is going to be -3, still of that same something. So 0h squared minus 3h squared is going to be -3h squared.
Okay.
You don't like that one for some reason.
No, I'm like lucky.
What do I do next?
Drag down your -4H.
Okay, bring down your next term, which is minus 4h. And restart the process. So this time, h times what is
I thought I was just hearing things. I really didn't. That's why I kept on looking weird. I was just like, is that the
h times what is negative 3h squared?
Negative 3h.
And again, yeah, if you can't remember, it's negative 3h squared divided by h. And that is going to be negative 3h. What do I do with that negative 3h? Put it on top. And so now we're trying to figure out negative 3h times h plus 3.
I was trying to think of watching the movie.
It is a movie, I think. I think that one point was just really loud. Negative 3h times h.
Negative 3.
Negative 3 h to the second. All right? Negative 3h times h, negative 3h to the second. What about negative 3h times 3?
Negative 3. Okay, negative 9h.
Minus 9h. Okay, subtract. Negative 3h squared minus negative 3h squared. So negative 3 minus negative 3 becomes negative 3 plus 3, which is 0. What about this one? Negative 4h minus negative 9h. So what's negative 4 minus negative 9?
Oh, so it's negative 4 is less. So
Keep, change, opposite. And negative 4 plus 9 is 5. So that is 5h. I just dropped the h off for what we were doing. And now what?
drive down your 12.
Drop down our 12. And repeat this process one last time.
Okay.
We're asking h times what is 5h?
5.
H times 5 is 5h. Where do I put that 5? On top. So we have a plus 5 there. Now we're going to multiply, right? 5 times h plus 3. 5 times h?
5h.
5h. 5 times 3? Plus 15. And subtract. 5h minus 5h is 0. 12 minus 15. Negative 3. And then finish this off. I have a remainder of negative 3. What am I going to put that negative 3 over?
H plus 3.
Yeah.
My divisor of h plus 3. So since this is a minus 3, I'm going to say minus 3 over h plus 3. If that was a positive, I would have said plus. Okay.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Your homework, of course, is in lesson 11.3 in Math Excel.
Mount Airy Beach Base House.
To get working on.